My Lords, can I first draw attention to my interest in the register, and secondly congratulate Baroness O'Grady and Baroness Bray on joining us. I've known them both for some years and I know they'll make a distinguished contribution. The points I have to make are somewhat technical and they're about transport, so the Minister may need to write to me rather than answering. They've so far identified 424 transport instruments that will be affected by this bill, but no one is actually sure that that's the correct final number. So the first point I want to make is about safety legislation and regulation, which has developed to support the incredibly high levels of safety enjoyed by passengers and crew aboard the UK-registered commercial aircraft. May I remind Lords that the last fatal crash in the United Kingdom involving a passenger plane on the UK register was in 1990. There's a threat to the cohesiveness of this complex web of aviation regulations if some parts are inadvertently or thoughtlessly removed, possibly just because they're overlooked or forgotten. Safety regulation should always, in my view, be amended in an evolutionary way, not by this slash and burn approach. My second point is legislation which is relied on by the aviation industry in a secondary sense. Passengers with reduced mobility, environmental problems, security, consumer protections are all covered by mature and complex, often overlapping regulation, and they are at risk should this bill become law, with the supporting jurisprudence falling. There are also fatigue-related parts of the specific Mobile Worker Working Time Directive which could be lost inadvertently. Thirdly, there's a matter of confidence in the legislative process. People live in the confidence of a mature and effective safety system, which means that the hazard they face is near zero. Much of this legislation is secured by international agreement, some of it under EU law, some of it under other parts of law. But with this sunset clause approach, there is a danger that some of it will be discarded without thought, and the work to generate new legislation is frankly a distraction. We ought to leave this legislation where it is. Can I finally draw attention to the fact that in November 2022, the DfT briefed the, quote, DfT Industry Engagement Forum on Aviation Safety on this bill. And at this cross-industry safety body, even the DfT made clear their preference was for the maintenance of the sitting arrangements. But they emphasised that they were finding it impossible to impress on people higher up in government that this was the officials' policy. So officials in charge of safety are apparently being ignored. At an appropriate time, I will be looking for support to amend the bill to look after these safeguarding provisions of safety legislation. I hope the Minister will make it unnecessary by bringing forward an amendment to exempt them.